Standard 5th English Palbharti, lesson number 5, The 12 Months. It is an interesting story in which all the 12 months in a year are mentioned in a mode of story.
Chapter 5, The 12 Months. Once upon a time, in a faraway country, there lived a mother who had 2 daughters. One was her stepdaughter. She was very fond of her own daughter, but she hated her stepdaughter. The only reason was that Marukala, the stepdaughter, was prettier than her own daughter, Helena. The gentle-hearted Marukala did not know how beautiful she was, and so she could never make out why her mother was always so cross with her. Gentle-hearted means kind. Cross here means angry. Marukala had to do all the housework, tidying up the cottage, cooking, washing, spinning, weaving and sewing. She liked work and she did it all without a word of complaint, while Helena spent the time adorning herself and lazing about. Adorning means making something more beautiful. And abused Marukala every day. Ranting means talking loudly and angrily. Abusively. They envied her so much that one day they decided to throw her out in the freezing cold to get rid of her. "Go, Marukala, and get me some violets from the forest. I want to wear them and to smell them," said Helena. Violets are small purple flowers. "Sister, it is impossible to find violets in the snow," said poor Marukala. "How dare you argue when I tell you to do something? Off you go at once, and if you don't bring me violets from the forest, I'll kill you," said Helena threateningly. Threateningly means in a manner as if about to harm one. The stepmother caught hold of Marukala, turned her out of the door, and slammed it after her. Slammed means shut a door or window forcefully. Marukala went into the forest weeping bitterly. Bitterly means resulting from or expressive of severe grief. The snow lay deep and there wasn't a human footprint to be seen. Marukala wandered about for a long time, tortured by hunger and trembling with cold. Tortured means suffered greatly. Trembling means shake involuntarily. At last, she saw a light in the distance. She went towards the glow from the top of a mountain. A big fire was burning there, and round the fire were 12 stones with 12 men sitting on them. 3 of them had snow-white beards, 3 were not so old, and 3 were still younger. The 3 youngest were the handsomest of them. They were not speaking, but all sitting silent. These 12 men were the 12 months. Great January sat highest of all. His hair and beard were as white as snow, and in his hand he held a club. Club means a thick, heavy stick. Marukala was frightened. She spent time in terror, But growing bolder, she went up to them and said, "Please, kind sirs, let me warm my hands at your fire." Terror means very great fear. Great January nodded and asked her, "Why have you come here, my dear little girl? What are you looking for?" "I'm looking for violets," answered Marukala. "This is no time to be looking for violets, for everything is covered with snow," answered Great January. "Yes, I know, but my sister Helena and my stepmother said that I must bring them some violets from the forest. If I don't bring them, they'll kill me. Tell me, fathers, please tell me where I can find them." Great January stood up and went to one of the younger months. It was March. And giving him the club, he said, "Brother, take the high seat." March took the high seat upon the stone and waved the club over the fire. The fire blazed up. The snow began to melt. The trees began to bud, and the ground was at once covered with grass. It was springtime. Blazed means burned strongly and brightly. The violets began to bloom among their little, and before Marukala had time to think, so many of them had sprung up that they looked like a blue cloth spread out on the ground. "Now pick them up quickly, Marukala," commanded March. Marukala picked them joyfully till she had a big bunch. Then she thanked the months with all her heart and scampered merrily home. Means sincerely. Scampered means moved quickly with small light steps. Helena and the stepmother wondered when they saw Marukala bringing the violets. They opened the door to her, and the scent of violets filled all the cottage. "Where did you get them?" asked Helena sulkily. Sulkily means in a bad-tempered way. "They are growing under the bushes in a forest on the high mountains." Helena snatched all the flowers and did not give even a single one to her sister. Snatched means took or pulled something away quickly. And said, "Go, Marukala, and get me some strawberries from the forest." "Alas, dear sister, where could I find any strawberries in this hard winter?" said Marukala. "How dare you argue? Go at once and get me the strawberries, or I'll kill you." The stepmother caught hold of Marukala and pushed her out of the door and shut it after her. Marukala went to the forest weeping bitterly. The snow was lying deep, and there wasn't a human footprint to be seen anywhere. She wandered about for a long time, tortured by hunger and trembling with cold. First, she saw the light she had seen the other day. Overjoyed, she went towards it. She came to the great fire with the it. "Please, kind sirs, let me warm my hands at the fire." He nodded and asked her, "Why have you come again, and what are you looking for here?" "I'm looking for strawberries. My sister Helena and my stepmother bade me bring some strawberries, and if I don't, they will kill me." Bade means told or ordered. "Tell me, fathers, tell me please where I can find them." Great January arose. He went over to the month sitting opposite to him, it was June, and handed the club to him, saying, "Brother, take the high seat." June took the high seat upon the stone and swung the club over the fire. The fire shot up, and its heat melted the snow in a... The ground was all green. The trees were covered with leaves. Birds began to sing, and there were all kinds of flowers. It was summer. The ground under the bushes was covered with white starlets. The starry blossoms were turning into strawberries every minute. Starlets means small stars. They ripened at once, and before Marukala had time to think, there were so many of them that it looked as though a red carpet had been spread on the ground. "Pick them at once, Marukala," commanded June. Marukala picked them joyfully till she had filled her apron full. Then she thanked the months with all her heart and scampered merrily home. Helena and the stepmother wondered when they saw Marukala bringing the strawberries. Her apron was full of them. "Where did you pick them?" asked Helena sulkily. "There are plenty of them growing in the forest on the high mountains." Helena took all the strawberries and ate them all up with her mother. They didn't leave even a single one for Marukala. On the third day, "Marukala, go into the forest and get me some red apples." The stepmother caught hold of Marukala and, without giving her a chance to speak, pushed her out of the door and shut it after her. Marukala went to the forest again, weeping bitterly. But she didn't wander about this time. She ran straight to the top of the mountain where the big fire was burning and the 12 months were sitting round the fire. "Please, kind sirs, help me." "Great January, what are you looking for today?" "I'm looking for red apples. If I don't bring them, my sister and my mother will kill me. Tell me, father, tell me please where I could find them." Great January rose up. He went over to one of the older months. It was September. He handed the club to him and said, "Brother, take the high seat." Month September took the high seat upon the stone and swung the club over the fire. The fire began to burn with a red flame. The snow began to melt. But there was a cold wind that sent the faded leaves down to the ground. It was autumn. Marukala saw just one apple tree with red apples hanging high among its branches. "Shake the tree at once, Marukala," commanded September. Right gladly, Marukala shook the tree. And first one apple fell down and then another. "Now, Marukala, that's enough. Run home quickly," shouted the months. At once, she picked up the apples, thanked the months with all her heart, and ran merrily home. Helena and the stepmother wondered when they saw Marukala bringing the 2 apples. "Where did you get them?" asked Helena. "I found them in the forest on the high mountain." "And why didn't you bring more? Or did you eat them on the way home?" said Helena harshly. Harshly means rudely or unkindly. "Alas, sister dear, I haven't even tasted them. I shook the tree twice. 2 apples fell down, and they wouldn't let me shake the tree again. They shouted to me to go straight home," protested Marukala. "May you be struck to death by lightning," said the wicked Helena, and began to eat the apple. It tasted so delicious that she told her mother she had never tasted anything so nice in all her life. Delicious means with a pleasant taste or tasty. The stepmother liked it too. When they had finished, they wanted some more. "Mother, give me my fur coat. Let's go to the forest ourselves and get the apples. That ragged little wretch would eat them all up again on her way home." Ragged means untidy and wearing old and torn clothes. Wretch means unfortunate. "We'll find the place all right, and I'll shake them all down, however they shout at me." Her mother agreed readily. They wrapped themselves in shawls, and off they went to the forest. The snow lay deep, and they wandered about for a long time, but at last they saw the top of the mountain where the big fire was burning, and the 12 months were sitting. They stepped up to the fire and stretched out their hands to warm them without asking permission or speaking one polite word. "Why have you come here, and what are you looking for?" asked Great January crossly. "Why do you want to know, you old fool?" replied Helena angrily. "It's no business of yours," said her mother. Great January frowned and swung the club over his head. Frowned means furrow one's brows in an expression indicating disapproval. The sky grew dark in a moment. The fire burnt low. The snow began to fall thick and began to blow through the forest. Helena and her mother couldn't see one step in front of them. They tried to find their way out, but the snow fell in huge masses, and soon they were lost in it. At home, Marukala waited and waited, and yet Helena and her mother did not come back. When she went to search for them, she found neither her mother and sister nor the 12 months in the forest. At last, she returned home sadly. So, good Marukala inherited the cottage and the land around it. Inherited means received from someone who has died. She married a kind husband, and they both lived happily ever after.